By the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another live episode of Wrestling with Johners, episode 248, getting closer to that milestone of 250. If you stay to the end of this episode, I'll be able to let you know who my fantastic guest will be for episode 249 for next week. You're not going to want to miss that one. But for this week, I've got the current Southwest Wrestling Warriors champion, none other than L.A Taylor. L.A Taylor, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. I'm quite sun-soaked right now. It's very warm outside at the moment. So I'm feeling great.
But as we established, you're from Cornwall, of course, and you're used to the warm weather. You like the rays.
Yeah, I'm just like a lizard on a rock, completely just warm. Yeah, that's how I
Absolutely. But we're going to be talking for the next 60 minutes or so about your fantastic career so far, your exceptionally bright future, and what you've been up to over the last few years. But if you've got any questions for L.A Taylor, you want to drop them through to us live on air, you can do. Ping them through to us using your chosen device. We'll bring them up on air, and we'll do our very best to answer every single one live on air. But L.A, I've got to start by asking you about Southwest Wrestling. You are their inaugural, their first ever Warriors champion. You've been their Warriors champion for about 7 months, if I'm not mistaken. So a fantastic reign so far. How does it feel to be the first ever Warriors champion and still holding the championship 7 months on? That's pretty cool.
I absolutely adore SWW.
Yes.
I whenever I know that's coming up that week, I'm a happy person. I love rocking up there, love the locker room. Those guys have just been so great to me professionally, and just they've become sort of friends and sort of like an extended family, really. And so to be given the opportunity to take on that title as the first ever, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, cracking graphic there. That's some work by Wrestlography for the photos there, and then the graphics by Lost Designs.
And it's a beautiful bout.
Yeah.
It's a lovely bout as well.
Oh, and it's got a great weight to it. It feels like I always thought a belt should feel,
A proper championship.
Yes, exactly. And there's a little part of me that when I'm loading it into the car, I'm just going, oh, here it is.
100%.
Very special.
Absolutely. And am I right in thinking that your most recent title defense was against none other than NXTUK star Xia Brookside? Am I right in thinking that's a pretty neat feather in the cap and a nice coup for you? When was you first told that you were going to be facing Xia for the championship? Because that must have been a little bit of a moment for you.
Yeah, so I knew it was coming. I just didn't know how it was going to come about and which show it was going to be.
Right.
The Pete at Southwest is this wonderful, I call him like pro wrestling dad. He'll be like, oh, I've got this great idea coming up, and I'll be like, okay. And sometimes it's obviously so busy on a show day, sometimes I don't actually hear what it is, and then I'm like, he's like, yeah, I told you about it. I was like, I'm not sure he did, but it's just wonderful, the amount of the incredible talent that you're seeing, and range of talent and styles coming into SWW is fantastic. And Xia is a incredible wrestler, so it was an honor to be able to wrestle her, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's been part of the NXTUK or WWE system for about 3 or 4 years now. So she's got a lot of experience. Obviously, the lineage of being a Brookside as well certainly helps. But that must have been not just a pretty cool experience for you, but maybe you picked up a few things as well, a bit of a learning experience also.
Yeah, entirely. Yeah, completely. Yeah.
And so, what's she like backstage? Because I can only assume that she's just as bubbly backstage as she is in the ring in front of the camera. A pretty cool person to be around. Pretty fun person to kind of I don't know, shoot the breeze with, and maybe ask for some advice.
Just so laid back, incredibly laid back, incredibly hardworking, not afraid to get stuck in
Yeah.
at any point, and incredibly down to earth. We just chilled. You might see on my Instagram, there's a picture of me with this beautiful Pomeranian dog, and that's her dog.
Oh,
so
I've seen that picture.
We just hung out having photos. I'm obsessed with what I am now calling my quest for the wrestle dogs. I want to meet all of the wrestle dogs, all of the Brit Rest dogs. I'm gonna cuddle them. It's gonna happen.
You've put out an open invite to attend their shows and cuddle their dogs. Yes, please. I've got two adorable dogs. I've got two adorable dogs, so I know how you feel. I know how you feel. I'll have to bring them to a show for sure. And then, if I'm not mistaken, kind of going back a little bit at the beginning of your reign, am I right in thinking that your first ever title defense was in what was called a Cardiff Street Fight in Cardiff against Lucia Lee? I've got some graphics here, but Lucia, a fantastic competitor. I've had her as a guest on the show a couple of years back, as a matter of fact, and she's really taken the UK scene by storm, and doing some good things in Southwest Wrestling. But like I say, I watched that match back in preparation for this interview, and that was a pretty wild match. Must have went a good 15 minutes, and like I say, there was all the bells and whistles, all the weapons. But how was that match? Because it looked pretty intense and a little bit painful.
So that was actually my first ever over 18s event. It was my first ever street fight, and I was hoping I wouldn't enjoy it so that I wouldn't be tempted to do any more. But as you can see, I'm having the best time.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, there she goes.
And the crowd were raucous. The moves are even more raucous. Like I say, that's available. I think, is it available on your YouTube channel or Southwest Wrestling's YouTube channel? It's easily accessible.
I would encourage you to go to the Southwest YouTube channel.
But a tremendous match. Was that your first, dare I say, street fight or hardcore match using weapons? You got a bit innovative. I think there was a cleaning sign. There were some chairs involved. Somebody's crutch. You were thrown down some stairs, weren't you?
I came out with a bin full of random stuff. I was gonna hit that girl with. Wet floor sign, officially my favorite weapon. Yeah, I want a wet floor sign chant. That's what I want. That's my next goal.
Absolutely. But, did it give you the taste for doing more weapons matches in the future then?
When it's appropriate.
Yeah.
That's where I'm leaving that. When it's appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of that. It's becoming more prevalent, I think, now in Brit Rest, and I'm seeing like tons of incredible footage of people running those sorts of matches. And it's not something that I am against at all. Like, clearly I enjoyed myself there, but I think we've got to try and work on a craft of storytelling first, and then when there's nowhere left to go, get that out.
That's right. It's got to be the blow off to a feud, hasn't it?
My take on it. Like, that's just an opinion. I think everyone's doing some incredible work with that stuff, and hey, it looks great,
Yeah, and Andy Ward's already been in touch. It's not a street fight unless there's a wet floor sign involved.
Exactly.
100%.
That's Andy from Spinebuster. He captured that match. So all of the footage and things that you'll see from that match are from him. He's incredible. His work's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And we spoke about being the first ever Warriors champion for Southwest Wrestling, and a 7-month reign, and you've been a fighting champion. You've taken on especially with the caliber of competitors that you've taken on and won, I have to say. You've helped to make the brand new championship, the Warriors Championship, a very credible and sought after championship. In turn, making you a very credible champion. But like I say, it's kind of, you've helped turn that new championship into something special in such a short space of time.
And I think if you look at the confidence and the dedication that the Southwest Wrestling team have in the women's roster and in the booking, you'll see just like that is a huge part of it as well. If you look at the Warriors show now, they have a standalone female promotion. Over 18s shows it in Cheltenham now, Warriors shows, and they bring in the best female talent from up and down the UK. You look, we had Xia, we had Rio, we had Lizzie, we had Lucia. You know,
it was a stacked card.
That's not everyone. Chantel, I'm going to miss someone.
Oh,
every single woman on that card, and you should look it up. You should find it online. That was an incredible show, and an incredible atmosphere, and the support and turnout for it, and just everything to do with that was great. You had Sierra Loxton on commentary, for goodness sake, like head to toe. You had some of the best female referees. You had Freya, the MC, as our host. Fantastic MC up and coming, you know. It was absolutely a fantastic team that was fully supported by those at SWW. So I think that being able to head that up with the championship is an incredible privilege. And the reason that it seems so sought after and it has grabbed so much attention is definitely a team effort. And I've been absolutely dedicated to putting my best that I can into my work for them, because I know that it's appreciated and because I know that it means so much.
Yeah, and let's just quickly flash up some more awesome graphics there from SWW with you and that beautiful belt.
It's beautiful.
It really is. I want to talk about another promotion, and that is P.E.W, Phenomenal Elite Wrestling. And you've had a nice little journey with them. They're a relatively new company, but you've just made your way through to the final of the Fallen Angel Championship tournament to crown its first ever women's champion, I understand. You're in the final, and I think you're waiting to see who you might face. I think that in the other half of the draw, you've got Laurie and Ruby Radley.
Yes.
Laurie, I know you know very well, and kind of chomping at the bit, hoping to get her into the ring. But
she has been gunning for me for a while.
Well, I mean, that would be a tremendous match, wouldn't it? But tell us a bit about P.E.W and your journey with them, and like I say, what you're looking to accomplish with P.E.W in the future. The
great thing about P.E.W is it allows me to meet people in the ring who I wouldn't necessarily get to meet in the ring. In the Southwest, I come up a bit further. There's some people coming from different areas. So I have the chance to meet people like Harley Hudson in the ring. And I recently just had one of my favorite matches actually with Ronnie Knox. I just really, really enjoyed that match. I get to meet different people, and variety is the spice of life. You know, you can always learn. You want to make sure you're pushing out into new areas, new zones, and meeting new people so that you can learn and improve and see what's out there and be knowledgeable about what you're doing as much as you can, you know. So I think it's a wonderful promotion. And I'm keen to meet either one of those women. I've wrestled Ruby before, and she's a firecracker. But either way, I've got a tough job ahead of me there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be one to watch when it does happen. But congratulations on getting through to the final of that tournament. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And you never know, you could be LA 2 bouts by the end of it. But you mentioned it there. You touched on it there, and certainly since UK wrestling came back last summer, you have been branching out. You have been, like say, fighting not just in the Southwest, but kind of all over the country, and you seem to be making your debut for a different promotion at least monthly. I mean, the list of promotions. I did have the list of promotions in front of me, but the list of promotions that you've wrestled for, say, since last August, easily stretches over into about a dozen promotions. But you mentioned about kind of learning more, spreading your wings a little bit, learning more about your craft and about yourself with every promotion you enter. It's been, I mean, I speak to dozens of wrestlers and they all say the same thing. The more promotions, the more opponents and competition you get in front of, the better you become. And that's obviously been the case with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been told, and I'm finding from my experience, that it's reps, but with people who have a bit more experience, people who are a bit different, people who've learned a different way to you. If you stay in the same area and you're just wrestling the same people, there could be the tendency to stagnate, maybe. And I'm terrified of it. So, but the amount of I put on my super secret, which now isn't super secret, wrestling wish list that I sort of update every 6 months, that I wanted to return to 2 promotions and maybe get 3 more. And then like I just it's mad really. I've got to meet so many people, and anyone that you ask about me will tell you that I'm just all about the love, and I just want to meet loads of people and have a laugh, and also always a cup of tea in my hand. So yeah, I just love soaking up the vibes. That makes me sound super surfy. I'm from near the sea, okay.
We're going to be talking a bit later about kind of what the future might hold, any promotions or any places you want to travel to and work for. But another big kind of coup for you and feather in your cap was Rev Pro, wasn't it? And I know that you're going to be involved in their Queen of the Ring tournament, which is happening. I know that you're down in Rev Pro. I think that's the 9th of July, if I'm not mistaken. And we spoke a bit off air, and I think I confirmed that that's not going to be your first appearance for Rev Pro. You have already made your debut for Rev Pro in a match against Alex Windsor, haven't you? So, Rev Pro, one of the biggest and best UK indie promotions. Anybody will tell you that. But that's a pretty big deal, and like I say, must be pretty special for yourself.
It's incredible. It wasn't anything that was expected. And I remember I was at a point where I'd been working. Everybody works really hard, by the way. I don't think I'm some kind of martyr here, but I remember feeling particularly burnt out when I got the call for that one. And I was like, come on. Like I was running on fumes, and I was like, just one more. And it's quite a lengthy little drive for me. So that was nice. I got to have a sort of one-woman concert on the way. That was awesome. But the experience there was great. And I was made to feel so welcome. And so the experience was more than I was expecting, and more than I could have hoped for. I felt that I had fun. I had fun in that match, and I learned an awful lot from Alex, which is just lovely. I mean, I think at the moment, finding unsigned people with that amount of experience to give you in the ring in terms of women at the moment, there's a lot less on the ground than there are perhaps men. And anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I've found personally. And so when I do get an opportunity to get in there with someone with that much knowledge and that much experience, it's so incredibly valuable. So I felt incredibly fortunate, and I'm forever thankful to Rev Pro for that.
Absolutely. We've had a few questions come in, which I'm going to hold off on. They're about plans for the future, promotions you want to work for. So if you have sent in questions asking LA or what promotions, which companies she might like to work for in the future, then stay tuned, because we will get round to asking them questions. But I do have to throw a sponsor's plug to the tremendous 1310 Apparel, who are not only the fantastic sponsors to Wrestling with Johners, this very podcast, but to the Johners Podcasting Network, who host over 50 podcasting and YouTube channels from all over the world, with some of the finest content creators you can possibly shake a stick at. Just go to wrestlingwithjohners.com and you will see all of them fantastic shows all in one space. But if you go over to 1310's Wrestle Merch Central store, you can see their fantastic range of apparel, from t-shirts, hoodies, caps, beanies, loads of really, really cool stuff, from their hardcore range to their lucha line and the more traditional 1310 and Four Corners apparel. And if you go over to their Wrestle Merch Central store today, you will see the exclusive 1310 Heidi Katrina t-shirt.
Yes. Come on, Heidi.
We love you, Heidi. As a viewer and a listener to Wrestling with Johners, you can get yourself 10% off at checkout simply by going to 1310's Wrestle Merch Central store and using the discount code 1310WMC. One more time, if you go to 1310 Apparel's Wrestle Merch Central store, you can find it at 1310.merch.global, or click in the link that's in the description to this podcast. Use the discount code 1310WMC to get yourself 10% off. So thank you, 1310, for all of your support.
Thank you,
lovely t-shirt, and I look forward to seeing Josh very, very soon. But for anyone that's kind of seen you over the last year or so, let's say since wrestling came back in 2021 last summer, they would have seen this badass woman throwing competitors around the ring with a really cool gimmick, and not afraid to kind of kick some ass. But to tell us about this persona, L.A. Taylor, and what she's all about, because everything I've seen just seems to be absolutely killer, to be honest with you. I'm sure that anybody watching or listening will agree. How did this L.A. Taylor persona develop? Was it kind of something that you thought about? Was it an inspiration during lockdown? A vision of yourself that you wanted to present coming back, or something that's developed over time?
I had to do a lot of soul searching. I think originally, I say this to a lot of people. I've had a lot of maybe younger people come up to me when they're starting their wrestling journey. They're about to sort of have a debut or something coming up, and they'll say, "Hey, how did you come up with your thing?" If we're just training, And I'm not saying that I'm someone to turn to for sagely advice, because I'm incredibly inexperienced myself and just on a journey. But I have been asked, and I realized that everything I was coming up with was such a complete act and so disingenuous that I don't think anyone would have bought it, And if there's one thing that I've discovered when I watch wrestling, especially live as a fan, if I'm watching wrestling, the thing I cannot stand is when I feel someone's lying to me. I want them to give me them, And I feel like it wasn't until I finally faced who I am and I explored who I am and what it is that I want, which was not a thing I would do back then. I was a very timid person, very much like a yes man, until I sort of faced up to what I actually wanted in life and who I am and the different corners of my actual personality. I wasn't able to come up with who L.A. Taylor is. I decided to go with L.A. Taylor because it's my name. But my dad used to shout that across the playground and sort of across the park. If we went to the park, or for us, it sounds quite lucky, but we lived in a caravan by the beach, which is actually paradise. But we'd just hop to the beach and he'd be like, "LA, it's time to go."
Did you know that you were in trouble when he shouted L.A. Taylor? It's like, "L.A. Taylor."
It would always be like, he has like the most devastating shout. We come from like a long line we originally come from farmers, so we've all got lungs, and it would always be like, "LA," and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm off, lads, bye." Just this little 3-year-old, like, I gotta go, like, immediately. That was so I knew I would answer to it, and it was something that no one had called me since I was a little kid, and I wanted to sort of, a lot of my journey has been, screw everyone else, sod what everyone else wants. What do you actually want? What is it that I actually want? You live once. unless you believe otherwise. But consciously, I'm here in this life once, and what am I going to do with it? Am I going to keep doing things to keep all these other people around me happy? It would be less conflict, but I don't want to have regrets. Yeah. So I just sort of went on this, like I said, this massive journey, you know, and I thought I'm going to go back and make sure that kid, if I ever sat down and had this conversation with her, I can be like, don't worry, we sort it out in the end, we get there. I want to be able to turn to, I think, like, you know, when we're younger, we were all these wonderful little dreamers, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't disappoint her, you know?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I say, I think all of that does boil down into what we have today. And it's a tremendous white hot heel gimmick. But you know, the way you interact with the audience, and like I say, just a few shots I'm going to bring up here. Cutting a promo, kicking some ass, and having a proper argument with an angry fan there that you've clearly upset for some reason. I don't know. But
oh my God,
you must love being a heel, because it gives you so much more freedom to like I say, just I don't know, let your inner self come out, or just have fun. But what is it about being a heel that you love so much?
I mean, most places now I am actually a face, so I don't get to be a heel so much. I adore both. It's all in all of us. Yeah, it's difficult switching between modes. Some days I'll feel one way and not the other. I always think if I've got to be nasty to some kids that day, then it always helps if there's a bit of traffic on the way. If I could shout at some people on the M5, then I'm gearing up, you know. But yeah, just remove the filters. We've all, the majority of us have worked in customer service, and we've had to cover the phone up and be like, oh, and I just say what I have always wanted to say.
Absolutely. Yep. and is the L.A. Taylor persona influenced by any of your heroes, or past, present, anybody in the business? But to where has pieces of this L.A. Taylor come from? Have you kind of been inspired or influenced by any of your heroes over the years?
Within wrestling, wrestling was banned in my household because I tried to do it to my brother, and we were very young, so I had a bit of a disconnect, and I would have to sneakily try and watch it if friends' older brothers were usually watching it. So I'd just sneak in and watch that with them, you know, at their house. But I just remember I didn't really see much women's wrestling when I was younger. I didn't see very much of that. But I remember being absolutely transfixed with any big tanned, jacked guy in black leather with blonde hair. I wanted to be Triple H. Who didn't?
Yeah.
I sort of went, who is that guy? That is the guy. And in my mind, that was always, if someone said, oh, blah, blah, wrestling, or something wrestler, that's the image that came up in my head, just because I must have just caught it at a time where he was heavily featured, and that was the impression left. But I think you can see the influence.
100%. But
definitely in the image anyway. But and Beth Phoenix, when I eventually got round to actually watching wrestling, Beth Phoenix massively made an impression upon me. Absolutely. I felt like she could legitimately mess you up if she wanted, which she can. She has that she has the like Olympic wrestling background, doesn't she? So yeah.
So a few people that have got in touch, we'll just read out some comments here. So I think this one is from Josh King from 1310, saying, hey guys, big love to you both. Thanks for repping John Scott. So there we go. Let's have a quick look.
He's a lovely guy.
And Andy Ward's been in touch again, saying the Ronnie Knox match was great storytelling. So Andy, definitely a big fan of that match. And again, one of my favorite L.A. Taylor moments was when she hit 3 spine busters in a row during a 4-way. What a hero. And we've got Dekara, the professor, watching
Oh,
via
hi.
YouTube. L.A. Taylor is truly the inspiring and motivating woman. So there we go. Some great comments coming through. But what was it? What was that kind of spark, that light bulb moment that inspired you to want to become a pro wrestler yourself?
I hate to say it, I sort of stumbled into it.
Explain.
I was looking for excuses to leave the house for hours at a time. And me and some friends were very much in a, not quite a New Year's resolution because it was in the middle of the year, but a sort of, hey, yeah, you only live once. Let's try something new each weekend. So we can be like, yeah, I tried that once. Yeah, I tried that once. Because we're all sort of like, oh, we've done nothing. We're boring as sin. So we were sort of on a mission to try things. We tried archery one week and goodness knows, and like skateboarding another week. And someone said, hey, look, there's a wrestling thing going on, like a taster day. And we were like, huh, that'd be fun to say we tried a bit of that, the old wrestling. And I would just got sort of, I was maybe 2 or 3 years back into watching it regularly because I had never been able to. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch a bit of that. That'd be great. Hopped on down, sort of threw up immediately. That was good because I was very unwell, very overweight, very asthmatic, very every health that my skin was bad, and yeah, threw up immediately, had a terrible time sweating and whatever. Some reason enjoyed it. I have no idea why I enjoyed it because it was tough as sin during a heat wave. Came out with some heat stroke and needing to feed myself up again, but I went back the next week without my friend initially. Eventually, I managed to tempt her back in a few months later, but and that's Aurora. But yeah, I don't know what it is about it. Something I thought this is a great challenge, and I got told quite definitely that not by the trainers there, but by outside people, you'll never make it to a ring. I don't know why you're bothering going to that. You're overweight, you're clumsy, you've never, like, there's nothing athletic about you. You've got no business. You've got no business doing that. What do you think you're doing? And I was like, well, I just think it's fun. And I watch it on TV. So it's like a fitness thing. And eventually when I had that moment that I was saying about earlier, where I sort of looked at myself and went, look, what do you actually want? Because running around after other people has left you in poor health. You're incredibly out of shape, overweight, you're miserable because you follow what other people want. You know, I was quite an active, sporty young person before I went down that route, and I felt I'd lost my way. So it was only then, sort of maybe a year into training, that I turned around and went, I want to make it to at least one match. And that was the goal.
Yeah.
That was the goal. Like, one match. If I can have one match, and then I can
say you've done it.
Yeah. And then my friend can win, and that can be me done, retired, never again.
But you got bit, didn't you? Yeah, you got bit. Yeah, am I right in thinking that your first match was against Aurora?
Yes.
Yeah. And how was that? Because obviously you were still finding your feet. You may have been training a year before that first match, and it was probably Aurora's first match. I'm not sure, but you were both very, very early into your career. You must have had a lot of fun, but kind of learning as you were going, I'm guessing.
Oh, it was. The run up to that was incredibly stressful for the pair of us. Although we both come from sort of public speaking and performance backgrounds, and she's done a lot of dance performance and things, and I'd done a lot of singing and acting performance. This was something new, right? And this was very physically taxing, and this is a completely new art form. And I just remember it was first match for both of us. Neither of us realized that this was going to happen until about 6 weeks before. And what happened was we would go to the gym and train together, because she was the person who originally got me fitter and got me confident at the gym, because she was training to be a PT at the time. And I remember we were coming up with ideas and things, and we were in a dance studio. We'd just done like a Circuit C workout thing, and we looked at each other and we burst out laughing, and tears were streaming down our face. We were in pain. We couldn't stop. We were in hysterics on the floor, because we were like, what are we going to do? Well, we were like, okay, cool. Neither of us has done this before. And it was this very unique situation. There were no sort of experienced female wrestlers down our way. So we had to just hope that it worked. And if one thing went, then who's leading who? Because we've both got no idea what we're doing here. So we have that experience together, and I will never forget. Nobody else will understand this, but side pocket beret. If I say that to her now, she's like, stop, I'm trying to be serious today. Just hysterics.
Aurora, if you're watching, drop a comment in, let us know what that's all about.
She loves it.
You've faced Aurora many times since then. But am I right in thinking that very early on, and possibly your second ever match, was against Millie McKenzie?
It was definitely like first 5, for sure.
And that must have been kind of another experience for you of one kind or another. But what do you remember about facing Millie so early on?
I remember being possibly the most annoying person ever, probably, for her that day. I am not always the most socially confident person. I'm doing all right these days. This is going well so far. But it was all very like finger guns, all very like, and stumbling on my words. And we had like hours to go. And I'd be like, you all right? How you doing? What we do for this match then? And she'd be like, it's okay, we'll talk to you in a bit. And I was just constantly in there worrying, and then constantly trying to feed her food. I had some Percy Pig, so I was like, do you want a Percy Pig? And she just looked at me like, who are you? What are you doing? And I'm there like, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah,
she probably remembers that. It probably, if you asked her today, it's like, oh yeah, I remember the Percy Pigs.
We have like this wonderful little friendship where I just send her pictures of whatever baby animals or wild animals my family is looking after at the time, and she's just like, oh, keep me updated on this one. So I learned so much from that match. Can you imagine? I was like, what? people are, oh wow, that's complete mind shift.
Yeah, because I would imagine that you would have been of similar ages, but she would have been in the business a good few years even by then, and just kind of blowing away the competition and doing some tremendous things. And like I say, it's great to see her on NXTUK and like I say, performing, with some of the biggest stars of the UK, of course. But you're obviously still training very, very hard, and like I say, getting better week by week. I want to bring up a couple of pictures. Tell me what's going on. I mean,
oh my word!
I cannot imagine. I mean, I would probably be in hospital for about a month if I tried anything like that. But the neck strength, when did you kind of realize that you could do that? Is it kind of something that all wrestlers learn to do? I'm not sure, but that is some pretty impressive neck strength there for sure, especially to go right back as well.
Yeah, you'll hear the great man William Regal talking about that in some podcasts when he talks about his Hindu squats and his neck bridges that he does.
Oh.
So that's a neck bridge. You can do rolling ones on your front, and then you can do like neck lifts on the side. It's quite a traditional sort of fighting and wrestling sort of strengthening technique. There are people who don't like it, and I understand why. You're taught in personal training and things that you shouldn't sort of stretch your neck back like that. However, for me at this point, it's the lesser of two evils. I need that flexibility and that strength in that position to make sure that should that happen, I've still got my life, you know? So, you know, there are different schools of thought on that. For me, I don't have equipment to replicate that. So very much going for the traditional method there. It's a part of my regular training. I train in Plymouth with Eddie Ryan. And that's very much something that he's taken on from his years of training and from Japan. And you'll see tons of people doing. Charlie Evans is got quite a few neck bridge pictures out there. She's got an incredible neck bridge. But yeah, that's a neck bridge.
Pretty impressive. And I'm pretty sure we've just come off the back of Progress's Super Strong Style 16, and one of the first round matches had Charlie Dempsey, and I think he did a neck bridge, and his opponent Charles Crowley actually stood on him while he was doing a neck bridge. That's impressive.
A training drill. That is a training drill.
Really?
You can do that.
So let me ask you, you're from Cornwall, you're proud of your Cornwall heritage, and this is obviously your L.A. Taylor logo. I wanted to because I researched and I couldn't figure out exactly what the words mean at the bottom of your emblem there. Now, I'm not going to attempt to try to read out those three words, but maybe you could, and then maybe you could explain what they mean.
Okay. There'll be people who rinse me for my pronunciation, okay?
Go on.
But for those people, I'd like to say, I'm getting the language out there, pals. All right?
Absolutely.
I am still very much a novice when it comes to the Cornish language, but I love my heritage, so I wanted to get it out there. I chose these words not just for what they mean, but because you say them how you read them. So it's easier for other people to access. So the first word is argas, which is aggression. All of these have different, they can have a few different connotations, but please be aware, Cornish was sort of a semi-dead language that's been revived. So different schools of thought. The middle word is crefda. That is strength. And then Gwain will mean win or victory or to win. There are different ways to use that one. But the way I like to think of it is aggression, strength, victory. So that was my thinking. I'm sure that'll be open to interpretation, but that's what it's for, lads.
Not for me. It sums it up perfectly. Absolutely. And you wouldn't believe the amount of time and research I was just trying to, there was a Cornish dictionary online, but you couldn't search individual words. But yes, so I thought I'd leave it to the expert, and you explained it very well. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And the next person I want to talk about is how about a bit of Jim Diehard there? You've got to love Jim Diehard, and you've had a few encounters. I think certainly
he's one of my favorite people.
At the back end of last year, I think you was in the ring with him. But look at that strength. L.A. Taylor picking up a 300-pound man. Oh my days! But he's such a great guy. But tell us about your encounter with because I think that was probably a tag match as well, wasn't it? With Jim Diehard.
Yeah, well, it was a 2-on-1. So
right.
me and Little Legs, who is a British wrestling legend, so what an honor, versus Jim Diehard. So what had previously happened, what you missed in that show was I had faced off against Aurora, and that had gone well. Little Legs came out to congratulate me and say, hey, well done, what a great way to open today, because we were at a Lake Fest music festival. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. We're getting on. That was great. And then Big Jim decides to come out and just ruin everything with and he's giving me this. And he was like, oh, I'm sick to death of you. Going on about little legs. I was like, yeah, mate, I'm still sweating here. I've just worked hard. Then we had a few crosswords. He told me to go back in the kitchen and make him a sandwich. I said, I think you've had enough. And then before you know it, we're having a match. So, but, you know, all that aside, I adore that man. What?
100%.
Oh, I adore
100%.
that man. I really do. And that day was it was a really important day for me. That kicked off the year that I'm having now. That kicked off what I have begun to sort of think of as my first year in wrestling, as you like. And I had so much love and support, and I learned so much. Can you imagine getting in the ring with those two people and just, oh, yeah. And then you've got Gilligan Gordon on the outside there, who's brilliant with the microphone there, and referee Rory there. He is like, I love all my refs, so nobody get jealous, please. But Rory has refereed the majority of my matches.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I think he's reffed me more than anyone, and I can't sing his praises enough. If I'm apprehensive about a match or something, if I come out and he's in there in the ring, I know that I've got a bit of backup there. I know that I'm in a good working environment.
Absolutely. Let's get to some questions that came through before we went live tonight. And first of all, we've got Scorpion Bill _ via Twitter, who sent you a question. What is your favorite match you've had so far? So not to put you on the spot or anything, but
how dare you?
Have you got a favorite, or maybe a couple of favorites that you're very fond of, even today?
Okay.
And why, maybe?
All right.
Why are they your favorites?
I'm going to say that Cardiff Street Fight match with Lucia Lee is one of them. I'm going to give you a top 3 because it would be rude not to. That Cardiff Street Fight match, because it was so many firsts for me, and because it went so well, we had so much fun. It was the hardest hitting match I have ever had, and that girl can go to war. Oh, I would happily go to war against her again. Yeah, that was a ton of fun. So, and we got a lot of great feedback about that. People were very happy with our work. So that stands up there for me. Xia Brookside, probably next. I felt that we just had fun. It just felt so great. It's really difficult to explain it other than that. That was just a really cool day that was relaxed, and there was a ton of hard work, but it was as you would hope it would be. And I'm forever grateful to her for that. And
she brought a dog along,
and she brought a dog along. You're right. So we all had cuddles and some therapy. That was good. Third one, I can't choose a third one.
That's fine. No, you've hit the nail on the head. There were 2 fantastic examples we've spoken about, and I know for sure that the Lucia Lee match is, like I say, available on the YouTube. Go to Southwest Wrestling's YouTube channel or L.A Taylor's YouTube channel, and you can see the match there. It is tremendous. Don't miss out. Now, let's see. Scorpion Bill _ sends in another question. What are your ambitions? So,
Scorpion Bill.
Any countries you'd like to travel and work in? Any promotions, dare I say? Any people that you want to face that you haven't done so already? But when I say kind of ambitions, what does that mean to you, and how would you answer that?
You made it such a big question. No, I'm joking. Thank you, Scorpion Bill. We appreciate your question. That's an incredibly good question. Like I say, ambitions is quite a wide subject in terms of countries and things. I'm off to Austria this weekend to make my international debut. So I am so stoked about that. So expect lots
That's
of
really cool.
this in front of airport signs from me over this weekend. That's all my content is going to be. And for me, I desperately want to go to Japan. I know a lot of people are going to say that, but that's because it's a fantastic place to go. I think that,
yeah,
that would be fantastic. I know that Aisha is out there at the moment and she's just having the greatest time. And because she's able to focus on her work and her training and her craft and her shows, like she's got this immense focus and she's getting into some incredible shape right now. And I think that being able to take that time to be in a dojo and to really work on that would be fantastic. Everyone I've spoken to who has spent time in Japan, like, always says that they come back a different wrestler.
Totally different perspective on everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it changes your life.
Exactly. So I think that's my main ambition in the sort of short term. As far as promotions go, hey, I'm here, come
Absolutely.
get me. I'd love to work for everybody if I could. I don't want to down talk anybody because I've been so fortunate to work for so many people this year. So yeah, that'd be fab.
And thank you once again to Scorpion Bill for getting in touch. A couple more questions, and they might be maybe slightly loaded questions and two very similar questions. So I'm going to bring them up at the same time. Okay. But Richard Stubbs has been in touch via Facebook. Have you been scouted or been in touch with WWE NXT UK? And before you answer that, I just got another quick question, which is very, very similar. Any plans going to Progress or NXT UK? So obviously lining you up with the big guns there already, talking about NXT UK, maybe Progress. Are they two groups that you maybe have kind of in your, in your kind of eyesight for the future, maybe on your wish list or in kind of your bucket of dreams?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I would love to. I think that the hiring policy would exclude me currently at NXT UK. There is an age thing. I'm sure someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But why wouldn't you want to be in that group of people? Every single, almost every single woman in British wrestling and in European wrestling that I greatly admire is currently on that roster. Why would I not want to work with them? It's fantastic that people outside of that roster get to come out to play a little bit now, and I'm getting to learn from those people.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to say no to that. Come on now.
I'm
not silly.
But you're definitely on the right track, on the right path. And like I say, just what you've done since last summer, since UK Wrestling opened back up again, has opened up so many more eyes. And like I say, the amount of promotions you've worked with since, the amount of debuts you've had in 2022, like I say, it's onwards and upwards for sure. But before we let you go, L.A Taylor, you've been a fantastic guest. An opportunity for you to throw out any socials where we can reach out, say hi, learn more about L.A Taylor on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. But do you have your socials down? And if you don't, I am going to help you out with a little bit of a ticker running down the bottom there. But
I tell you what,
where can we get in touch?
Can you? Oh, there we go. Right. You can get me on Instagram at L.A Taylor P.E.W, Twitter, L.A Taylor. You can get my merch at lataylor.bigcartel.com. You can find me on YouTube if you search for L.A Taylor. Also, I've just made what a fantastic graphic.
It really is,
isn't made for me by Omega Luke Designs. He is a wonderful person and has a great YouTube channel himself. Shout out there, Luke. Get on Plymouth Dad. So my TikTok, it's just going to open up and tell you what it is now, and that's going to be loud and dreadful. If you search for it's literally just L.A Taylor with underscores again. I'm quite consistent.
There we go.
So find me on there, and I'll have a lot more of my sort of highlights and video content there because it's just a great platform for that.
Absolutely. And I make sure that all of them links are in the description to the show. So you can just simply click on the description and say hi to L.A Taylor. Now, before we go, I did lie a little bit because the socials aren't the last thing. I want to talk about kind of what the next few weeks have got in store for you bookings wise, because you are a very, very busy performer. And I've got some graphics here, for example. Now, this is likely to have changed because you were meant to be facing the wonderful Heidi Katrina, weren't you? And I think that was that another international booking that to the Rings of Europe, Austria? So that was the one you was on about.
Yeah. So Heidi unfortunately sustained an injury, a broken arm, I'm told,
in Israel, I think.
In Israel, and me and Heidi do know each other. We've sort of hung out a little bit, and I adore her. She's great. We just haven't wrestled each other yet. So I can't speak for her. I bet she's sort of thinking, ha ha ha. No, she's not. I'm gutted anyway. I'm gutted. I was desperate to wrestle her. She has been on my list of people to wrestle, but I've been informed of the changes. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say, so I'm not going to.
No, that's all right. You are going to be in action. We know that.
I'm going to be in action. There's going to be 2 matches now, and both are with 2 incredible performers, and I am so excited.
Yeah,
so excited.
You can fill in the timeline as and when, but the next one I've got you down for is, of course, Rev Pro, the Queen of the Ring tournament, the 9th of July, and then of course we got this brand new company, Colosseum, that's kicking down some doors on the 16th of July, and you've got 9 stone of Scouse Girl Power, Harley Hudson. We had Harley on the show a few months ago. A fantastic competitor, great things. I think she just won the Wrestle Island Women's Championship over Alexis Falcons, doing some great things. That's going to be a fun match.
Yeah, absolutely. We have like tassel vibes on the jackets.
Yes.
We want to be like a tassel tag team. I think that's going to be good.
100%.
I hope to work with her one day, but it's a shame we're going to have to, beat each other up.
Well, there we go. But that could be the start of a beautiful thing to come. And then you've got Amira. I think that's for Cornish Pro Wrestling on the 23rd of July. So about a month around the corner. That's going to be a fantastic match. Have you faced Amira before?
Me and Amira have faced each other one time before for UPW. That was a very interesting day. A young lad called Satsuma Cassidy got involved. I don't like children getting hurt. I had to rescue him from her questionable care. So that was a very interesting match. But if you look on my Instagram, you'll see me with Satsuma Cassidy holding up a sign saying L.A. Taylor rocks. And I couldn't disagree because he's so adorable. But the newly revived under new management and new ownership CPW. This will be the first time that company has ever had a women's belt.
Very interesting, very cool.
Yeah, the first time that we've seen any real sort of investment into a women's division within Cornwall.
Absolutely. And then we got this one here for BRW against Chantel Jordan for the Women's Championship. And I've got that down as the 24th of July. So the day after your match against Amira. That's going to be a busy weekend for you and a busy match against Chantel. Just watch out for her kicks. That's all I can say.
Mate, you don't have to tell me. I faced her for my Warriors belt the other day, and she kicked 10 shades at me, let me tell you. My God, that girl. But I just wanna wrestle her again. I want to wrestle her a lot. Anyone who wants to book us wrestling, I want to wrestle that girl.
There we go. I know she's in Southwest Wrestling quite a bit as well, so that'll be a fantastic match. But and then we got this one here for United Wrestling against Kira Chimera.
Chimera.
Yeah,
Chimera, like the like the mythical creature.
That's the one. So that's going to be
She is a
fantastic.
mythical creature, man. She's
And,
next level. Lovely, lovely.
That's
person.
August. That's going to be August the 21st. I'm sure there's other dates in there that I haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
But busy. But L.A. Taylor, it's been amazing speaking to you for the last hour. I want to thank you so much for being a fantastic guest. If you've got one final message for our viewers or any fans that might be watching, anything you'd like to say to them before we depart?
Do what you want to do now. Just do it now. The time will never be perfect or just right. You got to just decide to do it. All right.
There we go. But L.A. Taylor, thank you very much. And we'll catch up again somewhere down the line. But have a great week. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.